The Midlands are at the heart of England and have seen their fair share of warfare, murders and sightings of the unknown. Here are 3 terrifying tales from the darkest depths of the Midlands. The story of the Black Lady of Bradley Woods is known to have been told for generations. It was once used by parents to frighten children. This appears to have been a common practice among parents in the area, and children were warned that if they were not safely in bed by a certain time, the Black Lady will get you. The story goes that during the Wars of the Roses, a young woodsman and his wife lived with their baby son in a cottage in Bradley Woods. Eventually, the woodsman was conscripted to fight and reluctantly left his wife to bring up their baby alone. After many months, there was no news of the woodsman. Every day the woodsman's wife held her child and walked to the edge of the woods, waiting for the sight of her husband coming home from the wars. Each day she was met with the emptiness of disappointment, until one day the enemy army crossed the Humber and marched through the area on its way to attack Lincoln. As the woodman's wife was leaving her cottage, she was set upon by 3 horsemen who brutally raped her before snatching the baby boy and riding off laughing into the woods. Heartbroken and humiliated, she wandered the woods searching in vain for her child and husband. After her death, people began to see her wandering the woods, carrying on her never-ending search. Laughter of the horsemen are often heard, along with the sound of hoofbeats and the distorted crying of a woman. 2 theories as to the origins of the Black Lady have been proposed. One is that the Black Lady is the ghost of a nun, the same nun which haunts Nunsthorpe in Grimsby, where a convent existed until the Reformation. But this theory gives no reason as to why the Black Lady should have moved from Nunsthorpe to Bradley, which is 2 miles away. Also, though she may be dressed in black, few, if any, eyewitnesses have described her appearance as matching that of a nun. Another possible explanation is that she is a spinster who at one time lived a life of isolation in her cottage in the woods, far enough away from the village. If village children came across the woman, she became angry when her privacy and solitude was breached. Then, imaginary tales of witchcraft could have exaggerated the legend. Despite these explanations, neither of these theories ties in with the folklore, and the Black Lady of Bradley Woods remains a mystery. The Wrekin is a hill in East Shropshire, England, and was the inspiration for J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth in his acclaimed series of books, The Lord of the Rings. But according to legend, it was once home to giants. The tale goes that the 2 giants moved into the area and set themselves the task of building a hill in which to live. As the giants went about their work, they began to quarrel, and one of them struck the other with a spade. Whilst they were fighting, a raven swooped down and pecked at the eye of the one who was brandishing the spade. The pain caused him to shed a tear, which hollowed out a little basin in the rock, which is always full of water to this day. It is called Raven's Bowl, or the Cuckoo's Cup, and contains water, even in the hottest weather. The other giant won the battle, so he built Aircrul Hill, located nearby, and imprisoned the defeated giant within it. There, so the legend goes, the giant remains to this day, and by the dead of night you may sometimes hear him groan. A darker legend suggests that the Wrekin was the creation of a wicked giant who disliked the people of Shrewsbury. So deep was his hatred that he decided to block up the Severn with a load of earth to flood the town and kill its populace. The The tale goes that he collected a giant-sized spade full of earth and set off towards the town. When in the vicinity of Wellington, he met a cobbler returning from Shrewsbury market with a large sack full of shoes for repair. The giant asked him for directions, adding that he was going to dump his spade full of earth into the River Severn and flood the town. The quick-witted shoemaker replied, "It is a very long way to Shrewsbury. Look at all these shoes I've worn out walking back from there." The giant immediately decided to abandon his plan and dumped the earth on the ground beside him, where it became the wrecking. The giant also scraped the mud off his boots, which became the smaller hill, Urquhart Hill, nearby. The chained oak is an oak tree, tied in chains near to the village of Alton in Staffordshire, England. The tree, often referred to as the Old Oak, is the subject of a local legend involving the Earl of Shrewsbury and an old beggar woman. The tale begins on an autumn night when the Earl of Shrewsbury was returning to his home at what is now the theme park Alton Towers. An old woman suddenly appeared in the road ahead of his horse and coach. The coach came to a sudden stop and the Earl demanded to know why she was there. The old woman told the Earl of her poverty and begged for a coin. But the Earl was a cold and cruel man and simply dismissed her, so the old woman called out that she would place a curse upon him, that he would come to know sorrow. The old woman told the Earl that for every branch of the oak tree that fell, a member of the Earl's family would die. The Earl refused to listen and continued on his way. That same night, a violent storm caused a single branch from the oak tree to break and fall. Later that evening, a member of the Earl's family suddenly and mysteriously died. Now firmly believing in the power of the curse, the Earl is said to have ordered his servants to chain every branch together to prevent other branches from falling. To this day, the oak tree remains chained up. As with most legends, there's differing accounts. One states that it was an old man who cursed the Earl, not a woman. A second version is that instead of a storm bringing down a branch, the Earl's son was out riding the next day, and, as he passed the old oak tree, the woman had been standing under a branch which fell on top of him, knocking him from his horse and killing him. The third version of the story, which was invented for the theme park attraction Hex, the Legend of the Towers, at Alton Towers theme park, states the Earl brought the fallen branch back to his home, where he performed experiments in his vault in an attempt to break the curse. Rational explanations offered by skeptics say that the 15th and 16th Earl of Shrewsbury built then extended Alton Towers in its gardens. During their tenure, thousands of new trees were planted, but the old trees were greatly prized. The chained oak was situated in a highly visible position beside a road frequently used by the Earls. As such, the tree may have been wrapped in chains simply to preserve it and to prevent it from collapsing under its own weight. Today you can visit the haunting site of the chained oak, and its mythological past comes down to one question: do you believe?